Hey guys, this is Blake here. First off, no critiquing the critics episode this week. I apologize. Personal issues came up, and it'll be next week. I know it's been like every 3 weeks now I seem to get an episode up, but sorry. Oh, I'm going to be reviewing Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Now, these types of horror films I'm getting a little tired of. It's not like Paranormal Activity where I know I'm probably going to be freaked out, because the rest of these horror films that are more about slow burn suspense, they just... they underwhelm me, even if I admire aspects about them. Like the last one I think I saw was Case 39. Same type of movie as this, with a few cool twists, but forgettable. I don't really remember much of it anymore. So I went in this movie with low expectations, not helped by the reviews, and much to my surprise, I actually kind of liked it. In a way, I was reminded of a movie called House of the Devil, which is a direct-to-DVD film. But the whole point of that was that it wanted to pretty much be an 80s movie that just happened to be made in 2000. I think in that case it was 9, and this one it's 2011. I love that. I wish more movies would go back and see what the 80s did right and try to bring that feeling back. Unfortunately, very few movies seem to do that, and the ones that do usually don't make any money. So, in this case, what I mean when it's like very 80s, it kind of just, it reminded me of movies like The Gate, Dolls by Stuart Gordon. I'm not even sure why I feel that way, it just does. All the cooler, creepy 80s creepy house movies, it's just the way it's shot, the way it's scored, the lighting, which is very moody. I love the fact that the cinematography is both gorgeous but in a menacing kind of way. You know, I just found that stuff to be very effective. The creatures are really, really cool. The CGI is awesome. You don't hear me saying that much in horror films these days. Actually, not these days. Ever. Horror films, in my opinion, usually should stay away from CGI. But in this movie, in this case, this movie made it work. The creatures' designs were just really freaky. I liked how they had personality, really malevolent and sadistic. You hate and at the same time kind of fear them. Does that mean everybody's going to agree with me? No, they're probably going to see, detractors obviously dislike this movie for a reason, and a lot of it is that they just didn't care for the visual style as much as I did. So I thought that was really cool. The acting was fine. The only standout performance really went to the little girl, just because that character was really freaking annoying, but the little girl made it work. So that was cool. So that's the first thing you just need to remember. I thought the acting was good, and I always think acting is really important for horror films, which is ironic because acting is usually the weak point of all horror films. But what I like about good acting in horror films is that if they can convey the right kind of fear, then it'll make us fear for them. So that's always good. I thought the visual style was great. But the problem is the script is just too familiar. All of these films are the same. Now, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark actually does have an original story. It just plays out in a way too familiar fashion. It has all the conventions, the cliches that come with these types of slow burn, ghost films, even though there aren't any ghosts in this movie. But Insidious, which actually also is kind of being an 80s horror film. Pretty much same movie in terms of script. They just had a few tweaks here and there. Case 39 was another one. The Ring. I'm trying to think of more. I can't even remember their damn names. But any movie that has a kid in peril by some supernatural entity, or some woman in peril by some supernatural entity. They always have to have the mother, defend the kid, and the dad thinks that he's going crazy. And if there's a step parent, they're going to be treated with nothing but hostility by the kid. It just, every time I see one of these movies, it's like, wow, did they just take the same script, switch a few things around, change up the story just a little bit, but then pretty much keep it the same? So that was sad, and I think it wasn't bad enough to where it sunk the movie for me. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking in the background. It didn't ruin the movie for me, but it kept it from being great. And I think for a lot of people, though, it kept the movie from being good. They may have noticed that the fact that this movie had a very flimsy script. I thought this really, really hurt the movie also in terms of its exposition. In all these movies, like The Ring, for example, especially the American version, there's a scene where they'll drop pretty much all the information on you. And this film handles it so poorly. I haven't been this confused, well, probably since The Ring when I first saw it. But they actually drop some important information, but it's so rushed and so, I don't know, it just doesn't feel relevant while you're listening to it, that it completely went over my head. So when the ending came around, I was like, wait, is that this person's voice I'm hearing? Or what the hell just happened? And I had to look on IMDb to pretty much figure out what I just saw. But the problem is that there's these two sides to these creatures, and I think the film played up more the fact that the creatures wanted children's teeth. I like that idea. I think it's relatively creepy, and I thought that was what the movie wanted us to think about more. But then they kind of dropped this other side to them, and it just makes no sense. The movie is so uninterested in that side, so when it becomes important by the end of the movie, it's just like, what in the fuck did I just see? And so that kind of brought it down, and I think a lot of the detractors were really, really thrown off by that. But, the film's faults in terms of script, they kept the movie from being great. I didn't think they were glaringly bad. It just kept the film, I guess, from being mediocre in terms of its execution. But I like the visual style so much that I ultimately like the movie. Very few movies can drive me away if they have a really cool and spooky visual style. So that's it. If you want to read my written review, check the link in my description. Yeah, once again, this summer has just sucked for me. I haven't hated anything. Well, at least most things, but everything has just been mediocre, with the exception of X-Men and Super 8, and to a lesser extent, Rise of the Apes and this. I think it's kind of sad when Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is probably one of the best summer movies. It's not that great. It's just better compared to everything else. It's weird though. I was thinking, certain things. I'll probably, for example, like Cowboys and Aliens more when I see it again, just because I won't have as high expectations and I can just sit back and enjoy it for what it is. Whereas I think Thor, which I liked more when I saw it, it's probably going to get worse each viewing because I'm probably just going to be thinking, big budget version of Masters of the Universe, that Dolph Lundgren movie. So this summer has been relatively disappointing, and will it get better? I don't know, but there's a movie called Shark Night coming out next week. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to suck probably so badly, but I haven't seen a shark movie in the theaters for so long. I'm very, very looking forward to that. I accept you, Shark Night, for all your crappiness, even if you are PG-13 and are directed by the guy who turned out to be one of the more disappointing directors in the horror market. But I will watch you. So that's it. I'll see you guys later.